Fellas, today we're going to be taking a look at fighters, in my opinion, who would break the UFC if they became champ. Now, this is basically, maybe it's a bit of an exaggeration, but fighters who just no one expects to become champion. They could be high ranked, they might not even be ranked, but just fighters who would be extremely out of place if they were champion and would probably break the UFC, and it'll be Dana's worst nightmare. So we're going to be taking a look at one in every single division. Let me know if you agree or if I missed any out, but we're going in there with the first division, which is heavyweight. And in my opinion, it would be really unlikely if we ever saw Derrick Lewis as champion. This guy, I feel like Derrick Lewis is one of those fighters you can never really trust to bet money on. Whether it be him winning or losing, you just can't bet money. I mean, look at the Volkov fight. Losing that fight pretty comfortably. Should have lost the fight and then last second gets a knockout. Got a flying knee knockout in the first round at UFC 291. Just got dominated by Jelton Almeida. Been beaten before by people like Pavlovich and Spivak. So Derrick Lewis is a really odd fighter, but if this guy was to become champion, that would be extremely unlikely, especially now that he just, like I said, lost to people like Pavlovich, Spivak, Almeida. If this man was to become champion ever again, or just ever, that would be crazy for me. And that he would just signify the fact that knockout power takes over skills and attributes. You can have Tom Aspinall or Cyril Gane, any of the most well-rounded heavyweights in the UFC division, and you've got Derrick Lewis who's got a mean right hand, and all it takes is Derrick Lewis's right hand to connect and then you're done for. And that would prove that knockout power is over skills and attributes. But yeah, it's going to be extremely hard to predict these fights, but imagine Derrick Lewis was champion. The post-fight celebration, just having this guy as a champion overall. You've got all these skilled heavyweights. You can quote-unquote new breed of heavyweight. And then you've got Derrick Lewis, who just comes to knock one of them out. And that's what Derrick Lewis is about, just landing that one lucky KO shot. And the fact is, it's not even just him getting it. It's like not even just him beating the champion. It's him actually getting to a title fight. Derrick Lewis is going to have to win like 3 or 4 fights before he gets a title fight. Imagine Derrick Lewis just goes on like a crazy streak and then becomes champion. That would be crazy in my opinion. So for me, in the heavyweight division, Derrick Lewis would be out of place as champion. If I saw Derrick Lewis as the champion, I'd probably start questioning the UFC more. But Derrick Lewis is going in there for heavyweight. Light heavyweight, I've gone Johnny Walker. He's just, you've got people like Ankalaev, Jamal Hill who knocked him out already, Alex Pereira, Yuri Prohaska, all these contenders, even Jan Blachowicz, I guess, in the division, who you can see being champion. But if Johnny Walker managed to become champion with one of the goofiest like styles, some of the weirdest knockouts, weirdest personalities, if Johnny Walker was champion in a division full of killers like I said, Pereira, Yuri, Ankalaev, then I'll probably break the UFC. I don't know how he'd ever get that title. Like I said, he's already been knocked out by Jamal Hill. If maybe all he has to do is beat Ankalaev, because I know he's been rescheduled with Magomed Ankalaev. So if he was rescheduled with Ankalaev, or when he is, and he wins that fight and then gets another, maybe he gets a title shot from there and then wins the belt, that'd be crazy for me. But out of everyone in the division, Johnny Walker being champion, probably one of the weirdest champions in UFC history, definitely up there with one of the weirdest. So I'm going to go Johnny Walker for light heavyweight. I mean, I can just see he gets to that title shot after like sleeping Ankalaev, and he's, winning over all the rounds, round 5, and he's won every single round so far. And then right in the last minute, he just gets clipped and has the weirdest knockout ever. If this guy will be the weirdest champion in UFC history. Never mind the light heavyweight division, it'll be the weirdest in UFC history. So for light heavyweight, I'm going Johnny Walker being the weirdest champion we've got, and probably would break the UFC. If they saw this guy's Instagram page, I'm not sure anyone would want to tune into the UFC anymore because of how crazy that is. Middleweight, it's the current champion, Sean Strickland. I still can't get over the fact that Strickland is champion, I still can't get over the fact that Sean Strickland not only just beat Adesanya, but dominated him for pretty much 5 rounds. I still can't believe that. I know it happened like nearly 3 months ago now. But the fact that Sean Strickland is our middleweight champion of the world, and he beat Adesanya for it. It wasn't even like he got an easy title shot. He had to beat Adesanya, one of the greatest middleweights of all time. And I still can't believe it. They're going to have to censor everything. It's kind of, I feel like Sean Strickland is the UFC's favourite. Like he's extremely promotable because of how well he talks and how well he trash talks and how well he gets fans invested. But at the same time, he's also Dana White's worst nightmare. The things this guy comes out with on Twitter, he's going to have to be censored everywhere. Pretty much a press conference's worst nightmare in terms of Dana White. This guy's going to be on the mic, say whatever he wants. He's probably one of the most opinionated UFC fighters out there, or at least he voices his opinion more than the others. So he's kind of a nightmare for the UFC to deal with. But the fact that Sean Strickland, and not even just his personality type, but his style as well, the way he walks towards fighters, the guy that got the guy that lost to Jared Cannonier by decision, slept by Alex Pereira, and that's no disrespect to Sean Strickland, by the way, but out of all people, this guy was not only the one to beat Adesanya for the first time within comfortable rounds outside of Jan Blachowicz, but to also become the middleweight champion of the world. I still can't believe he's the champion, so for middleweight, I'm going with the current champ, Sean Strickland. Still can't believe he's champion. Welterweight, I've gone for Belal Muhammad, and unlike the other reasons, it's not like he's the weirdest in the division, or, he's just not good enough to become champion. If Belal Muhammad was the welterweight champion of the world, I'm not sure we'd ever see a welterweight main event ever again. Listen, I don't like people who just jump on bandwagons of hate, but I'm going to be honest, he's really boring, isn't he? I mean, he had a good fight with Sean Brady at UFC 280, but apart from that, even at UFC 288 against Gilbert Burns, that was a boring fight as well. I mean, he weren't as boring as his other ones, but he's just not that interesting. He's not really promotable. He's just not a good champion. So if Belal Muhammad was the welterweight champ, I'm not sure how he's ever going to carry a main event for a pay-per-view, unless he's fighting like Colby, who can promote it. Like Shavkat versus Belal Muhammad for a pay-per-view main event would not sell, because Shavkat's a killer and everything, and Belal Muhammad, he's on a winning streak, but promotion-wise, how are you supposed to promote that fight? He's the least wanted champ on the roster, one of the most hated fighters in the UFC, not only because of his Twitter, but mainly because of his fight style and the fact he's so boring. He beat Gilbert Burns, and the fact that the sad thing is, this could actually happen as well. I can genuinely see Belal Muhammad getting a title shot in the next 6 months and actually winning against, whether it be Leon Edwards or Covington, winning the belt. I just don't see Belal Muhammad ever being a fun champion. It's got to be a core main event for a bigger main event, in my opinion. So for welterweight, if Belal Muhammad becomes champion, the welterweight division is going to be in a very bad spot for a while. So I've gone with Belal. Lightweight, I've gone with McGregor. Imagine McGregor was champion again. Like, just imagine McGregor as the lightweight champion. Not only would this be massive for the UFC, but massive for McGregor as well. Like if he was to become champion, let's say he goes out there and beats Michael Chandler, the UFC are probably going to give him an immediate title shot, which is either going to be against Islam, Oliveira, or Gaethje, depending on when they come back. Could even be Arman Tsarukyan because he takes so much time off. But let's say, imagine it was McGregor versus Islam, and McGregor somehow in some world was to sleep Islam. Not only would he have kind of got he would have got his get back on the Dagestanis, but the guy would be the champion. If Conor McGregor ever becomes a champion again, it would be the biggest comeback in at least combat sports history. The guy that gets mauled by Khabib, then he gets his leg broken, takes a few years off. McGregor's a thing of the past, and somehow just walks back into the sport and becomes the lightweight champion. That'd be crazy for me. It's extremely unrealistic. But if McGregor ever puts his hands on UFC gold again, that's probably going to... It's crazy, is all I'm going to say. It's one of the craziest things that would ever happen in the UFC. So for lightweight, I've gone with Conor McGregor. It could even be the welterweight division. I don't care what division it's in, but if McGregor's champion, it'll be absolutely insane. Featherweight, I've gone Bryce Mitchell. This guy is a bit of a weirdo. If Bryce Mitchell becomes the featherweight champion again, kind of like Johnny Walker, it'll be really hard to promote this guy. You'll be seeing his highlights, and then you'll see, even in the vlog series, you'll be looking at this guy and thinking, this is our featherweight champion. You've got killers out there like Ilya Topuria, who already beat him up, Yair Rodriguez, Max Holloway, Volkanovski, and then of all people, Bryce Mitchell was to become champion. It'll be really crazy. You should stay away from the mics as well. Flat Earth, a bit of a weird guy. Promotable for the wrong reasons, I'm going to say. If this guy was somehow to get through all the killers, I mean, he did beat Edson Barboza pretty comfortably, and he's coming off a win as well. If Bryce Mitchell was the featherweight champion of the world, imagine it was to beat Volkanovski as well. Obviously, that's never going to happen, but if of all featherweights, Bryce Mitchell was to beat Volkanovski, I'm convinced that the sport is rigged. So for featherweight, I'm going Bryce Mitchell. He would break the UFC if he was ever champion. Bantamweight, again, like Strickland, I'm going with the current champion, Sean O'Malley. For some reason, the Seans are always the unexpected ones in these videos. Yeah, he's the current champion, and I still can't believe that this guy got past Peter Yan and Aldo. Before the Yan fight, I was like, Sean O'Malley's a hype job. He barely had a fight with Pedro Munoz. Peter Yan's going to absolutely mug this guy. He's going to absolutely destroy him. He's going to maul him. And then he goes out there, and, you could have said it was a controversial decision, but the fact he was able to hang in there with Peter Yan is still crazy to me. And not only that, gets a title shot against Aldo. I literally made a prediction video. I thought Aldo was going to ragdoll him and maul him and kind of fraud check him. And then he sleeps Aldo in the second round. I still can't believe O'Malley's champion. It's one of the few times in the UFC where like a star up-and-coming prospect actually becomes champion. 90% of prospects, you know, they have a tough fight against a tough contender, and then they end up getting battered, and then they start going on a bit of a losing streak like Darren Till. But Sean O'Malley is one of the few that actually become a champion. So I'm going to say Sean O'Malley becoming a bantamweight champion. Kind of crazy. Probably one of the biggest upsets this year. And then for flyweight, I'm going Manel Kape. Like Strickland, you would have to censor this guy everywhere. He doesn't really speak English amazingly, but the English that he does speak, you're probably going to have to censor it. I mean, we saw it a lot at the UFC 293 press conference. He's probably going to call out Izzy as well. Let's say he gets a title shot and it's, you know, Pantoja versus Manel Kape 2, and he goes out there and beats Pantoja. If Manel Kape's the champion and we have to wear this guy on the mic, it'll be funny, but the UFC are going to have to censor him all the time. Dana White's worst nightmare. The guy just doesn't care, man. He'd be calling out Izzy. He'd be calling out Kai Kara France as well. I can't wait to see this guy and what he says about Kai Kara France. Funniest champion on the roster he will be. And Manel Kape at flyweight. You know, flyweight is kind of... Listen, they're killers, but personality-wise, they're a bit stale. I don't really see anything in Pantoja's personality. Moreno, I get it, he's a bit of a baby face, but that's it. Kara France is a nice Australian guy, but not much personality. If Manel Kape was to become champion, it'd be the first time we see some proper personality in the flyweight division. So I'm going to say if Manel Kape was to become champion, it would be the craziest flyweight champion we've had in a while. But yeah, those are UFC fighters who will break the UFC if they became champion. Let me know if you agree. Do you actually think any of these can happen besides, you know, Sean O'Malley and Strickland? If they can, that would probably be crazy because I don't see anyone on this list besides O'Malley and Strickland ever becoming a champion. But maybe Bilal Muhammad, but maybe Johnny Walker as well. Either way, thank you for watching.